Hi, my name is Eric Friedman. I'm the Executive Director of the Mad River Valley Chamber of Commerce, and we have periodic talks with things involving and people involved in the Mad River Valley business community. And today we are here talking with Melissa Bounty, who is currently the Assistant and incoming Executive Director of the Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation. And we're also here talking to Gunnar McCain, who's the owner of McCain Consulting, a longtime business in Waterbury, and he's also a member of the Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation Board of Trustees. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first off, tell me a little bit about what Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation is, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it.
Sure. Well, it's a nonprofit organization, sort of quasi-governmental. We're not actually part of state government, more like a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And our mission really is to bring good-paying jobs to the area and help support businesses, both in locating here and finding employees and some financial aspects. We have a lot of loan programs. We have some grant programs. Basically, just help the business community thrive in the area is our goal.
And how long has this been going on for?
There have been RDCs in Vermont since the 70s. So the government formed regional planning commissions to do planning and zoning work in the 12 regions of Vermont, and then developed RDCs, regional development corporations, just after to support businesses.
Oh, okay. And there's a statewide organization as well, right?
Well, there are statewide organizations. There's not like an umbrella that we're under necessarily.
Okay.
But there's certainly other statewide organizations that we work routinely with.
And who do you serve? I know that we were talking earlier, and you said about that it seems like that people think of it as helping out the big guys, and that's not really the case. So who are the customers of Central Vermont?
Everything from sole proprietors who run very small shops to small businesses, shops that have 5, 10 people, and we do also help the big guys. It's the big guys are few and far between, quite honestly, because Vermont is mostly small business operators. And we do I asked Melissa to explain some of the stuff we did in terms of the COVID relief, because we've been incredibly busy, or at least Melissa and Jamie have been really working incredibly hard the last year or so, dealing with all of that. We have several programs that have been very beneficial to the area.
So that COVID thing, that was that pandemic I heard about?
Yeah, that was the one.
I heard something about that. That kind of threw a monkey wrench into things, didn't it? So I know that totally altered what we did at the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we went from one day doing, kind of promoting this area to, working with businesses to survive. And so tell me, how did that whole experience impact you and your organization?
So I joined CVEDC mid-pandemic, so a lot of this was already structured, and I joined. We serve Washington County and a little bit of Orange County, so we put a call out to businesses in the region to let them know that we had funding available to help them. And we help people with the programs that everyone's heard of, the PPP and the SBA loans and grants that were available. But then we took the big buckets of government funding, the ARPA money and the CARES Act money, and with that money, there's a lot of paperwork attached to it. It has to be used in certain ways. And a lot of smaller companies or sole proprietors wouldn't be eligible or would find it very confusing. So we split those big buckets of money into smaller technical assistance grants. So those are grants that service a business owner in some way. It could be making a website or transitioning to e-commerce, working with a lawyer, working with an architect, and all the ways that we were assisting all these projects responded to a COVID problem. So we had a clothing store that had always been bricks and mortar, and they needed a website. In order to make money, they had to move to an e-commerce platform, but they had never planned to do that. The reason they didn't have a website is they didn't know how to make a website, and so many small business owners, they do everything that they know how to do, and they don't hire an outside vendor. So this programming gave funding to the projects, but we also helped the business owners connect with a reputable vendor. We helped them with that process. Some people hadn't ever gotten a quote, and compared invoices from different vendors. So we helped with the whole process.
So federal money was actually funneled into Central Vermont Economic Development Corp. So that was how money funneled down.
It came in and went right back out for technical assistance grants. Yep.
That's interesting. I didn't quite realize that that's how it went down.
Sure, and one of the beauties of those technical assistance grants is the people who, well, there was a business who applied for the grant because we needed a new website, or that business did. And then the contractor that was hired to help those folks is another local business. We didn't go outside the area or outside of the state to find the contractors to help the business. We hired people directly from Vermont were the contractors that were hired for those folks. So kind of a double whammy with that money,
Right.
In that it's giving the business that receives the grant the technical assistance they need, but still also providing financial support for the contractor who's doing the work for the business.
So it must have brought a lot of new customers. Do we call them customers?
I say clients,
Clients,
but
okay.
customers is true too. Yep.
So it must have brought a lot of new folks coming in to see you, then
Yes.
introducing you.
Yep. A lot of people had never been aware, had never heard the term RDC, never been aware of CVEDC, but there's 80,000 small businesses in Vermont, so there are a lot out there that can benefit from the programming.
And how much coordination is there between Central Vermont Economic Development Corp and the other ones, and how does that?
We
what
all
are those
meet-
relationships?
Yep. So collectively, it's the RDCs of Vermont, and we do run a website, vermonteconomicdevelopment.com, that has some of this programming on it as a collective. When they've done 2 rounds of this COVID-specific technical assistance. The first time, they had people in every region helping, and it was a little tougher, and they did it all in 6 weeks. They got all this money out in 6 weeks. The second round, we have just 2 people. I'm one of them, and then someone in Brattleboro, Casey Haynes, is the other, and we help the whole state. So everyone brings their clients to us, and we help every single client. And we have a year with this one, so it's a little bit more normal paced.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the other thing, just kind of structurally, we had talked before about how that their regional planning districts are kind of your sister
Yep.
organizations. How does that work?
So we work together on a lot of different projects. They handle zoning and regulation permitting, and we're handling business. But obviously there's a lot of situations where both those things come up. And we're in regular communication, so they'll tell us, we're starting to get a lot of feedback that this is a concern or that is a concern. And we'll think about that as we help people locate real estate or advise businesses. We'll think about the concerns of the Planning Commission and what might be a difficult area or what is an area of abundance. They work with the brownfields a lot, which are they're contaminated spaces in the state that the state will help pay to clean up and develop. So they'll tell us.
Will they take care of my cat's litter box?
You could declare it a brownfields location. We can put you in touch.
No, that's interesting. I didn't
Yep.
quite realize that there was that relationship between the two. I know that at the chamber we're getting a lot of people talking about the VITA, the Forgivable Loan Fund, and I know you guys have some impact on that or dealing with that. Anything you want to say about how that's
Yep.
been
So
going?
that program opened just a couple weeks ago on September 15th. It is a forgivable loan program that's run by the government, the Vermont Economic Development Authority, and you can visit them at vida.org, VEDA.org. So they are trying to address companies that are having a really strong COVID impact now. So companies that
as opposed to in the midst of.
Right. So companies where something has come up for 2022 to really still be offsetting their ability to make money now. It could be supply chain or other issues. And also prioritize companies that might not have received COVID relief funds before. You apply, you do a little eligibility calculator. It's actually a big eligibility calculator.
Yeah, I understood. It's a pretty complex thing.
Complicated.
Yeah.
So I help people fill it out. We sit down, you need 3 years of your taxes. Every little box does match to a box on the tax form, so it's not impossible to do, but it's a lot of work. And then at the end, it will determine if your business is offset by 22.5% versus your 2019 numbers.
So that's the threshold.
That's the threshold.
Okay.
And right now, for the next couple weeks, there's some priority sectors, which is any BIPOC-owned business in any sector is eligible to apply right now, as well as businesses in agriculture, lodging, tourism, and restaurants and childcare.
Okay.
So businesses
So that
in those
impacts
sectors
this community quite a bit.
Yeah, yep. And they're defining tourism kind of interestingly too. If 50% or more of your customers come from out of state, you would be considered a tourism sector business. So that could be many different sectors of businesses if they fit that threshold.
A lot of hoops to jump through there, huh?
It's just a little complicated,
Yep.
but if approved for the money, it's the lesser of 6 months of operating expenses or $350,000. So it is a significant amount of money for eligible businesses. It's worth the time if they are eligible.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things as I've been trying to help businesses through this period too. It's been nutty, and it's taken me out of my wheelhouse of like what I know about. And one of the things that I was hoping that you might, guys, either one of you might want to speak to, is kind of what is the difference between what you folks do at Central Vermont Economic Development Corp. and like what the SBA does or what the VITA does? Like, how do you, as a business owner, like how would they differentiate who to call?
They can call me and I'll help them. No, they don't call. I do. I pass referrals on a lot, but VITA handles a lot of money and funding, and their programs are listed right on their website. We're a good networking agency, so we'll tell people. That's a lot of what we do is saying, you really need to talk to the Vermont Training Program, which helps train up groups of employees through grants, or you would be eligible for this type of lending. I have a client that I've been working with for a little bit who was looking at a bunch of different lending opportunities, and she just realized she's eligible for a justice grant through the Vermont Community Loan Fund based on the nature of her business, and she had never heard of that, and so she thought she was going to be borrowing money. She's applying for something that would just be a grant for her instead, because she does justice and equity
Grants
work.
always better than loans, right?
That's
every time,
an
Eric,
important
every
thing
time,
to know.
yeah. No, just steering people in the right direction is a big piece of it.
Yep.
It's just these organizations all work together. But they do have different niches, and Melissa sort of is tuned into who's got what niche, you know.
Right. So I was curious, like, so Gunnar, I know we've done some work together
Sure.
over the years, and planning my septics at my house and things like that. Like, how did you get involved in this thing as a board member?
Honestly, I was a board member of the Regional Planning Commission for about 20 years, and then kind of just switched gears. There was a move to consolidate regional planning and economic development into one organization. So we spent a couple of years looking if we wanted to do that or not, determined we weren't going that route. But through all of that, I came out of it saying, you know what, I've been doing the regional planning thing for 20 years. I think it's time to step over and do the economic development side for a while, because it was just a little different and something new and exciting for me. So
That's cool. And Melissa, tell me a little bit about your background too, and
Sure.
how you fell into this area.
It was a big shift for me. So I went to Johnson State College and graduated with a creative writing degree.
AKA Northern Vermont
Oh,
University.
right.
Whatever.
AKA, yes.
I don't know what it's called.
It's Vermont State University now.
Right.
Which is
That's-
cool.
Well, I went to Johnson State College. That's where I graduated. And got a job right out of college in my field. So working for Choose Co., Waitsfield-based book publisher. And I did that for 16 years. And during COVID.
So you've been creating your own adventure for a long time.
Many years. And both my husband and I decided during COVID at pretty much the same point that we really wanted to move to public sector work. So he had been a financial advisor and he went into public housing, and I found this job, which was actually less of a pivot than his was. So I took a lot of the knowledge I had from working with a single small business over all those years and seeing all the growth and wonderful things that they did. And now I can help other businesses.
And you're currently the assistant director, is
Correct.
that correct?
Yep.
But you're going to be taking over as executive director.
In
and
March.
Jamie, you want to tell us about Jamie and what he's up to and that he's moving on and retiring, right?
Yep. Jamie's worked in this field for over 30 years. So he's been the executive director for Rutland, then Addison County, and then the final part of his career has been with Central Vermont, where he's been for many years. And he planned to retire, so hired me and trained me into the role that he's been occupying.
Yeah, I'll say as a board member, we were thrilled to find Melissa. It's a hard act to follow,
Yeah.
tough shoes to fill, but she's doing a great job, and we're really excited about having her fill Jamie's shoes moving
That's
forward.
good. It's
No,
important to have that,
it
and
is.
having
It really
having
is.
some overlap.
Some transition time is great. Yep.
No, that's for sure. I'm well aware of that. I was perusing the website, which is, by the way, so people know,
Oh, cvedc.org.
cvedc.org. Okay, lots of, as we said, acronym-rich environment
Like
here.
taking an eye test.
Yeah.
CV.
So one of the things I noticed was that there was the West Central Vermont Comprehensive Executive Development Strategy. And that-
Economic
Oh,
development.
I'm sorry. Did I say environmental?
You said something.
Something
It's,
other.
Okay, Central Vermont Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and that kind of intrigued me. I was wondering, can you kind of speak to that a little bit, like what that's all about?
it's a group project of 4 RDCs with their RPCs, and it is a planning document that's being created to explain out how economic development, where we're at right now, and what the ethics and goals are going forward for the 4 county regions. So it's Chittenden, Rutland, Addison, and Washington County.
And that little bit of orange.
And the little bit of
Little
orange.
orange, yeah.
And so the RDCs and the RPCs have all been meeting. I actually had a 3-hour meeting on this topic today. It's because we're almost to the end of it. We create this huge 100-page document that describes this region of the 4 counties and some of the challenges, some strategy for facing those challenges. The reasoning behind developing this is to tell the federal government what our district is and who we are, and to set up to become an EDD, which is an Economic Development District, and that would make the 4 counties together eligible for federal funding. So we would be eligible for different grants that come out of the EDA in the government. And
So that report is aimed at the government, at the federal government?
it is, and then it's also used by others. So if people were applying for, so anybody who lives and works in the region, municipalities, sole proprietors, big companies, little companies, nonprofits, they could go back to that document and say, federal government, we want to apply for this funding, and we've reviewed the SEDS, and so we understand and are thinking about how women in business need to be prioritized, how people of color in business need to be prioritized, as is outlined by this document. So the document is something that the community agrees on, highlights all the important things in our area, and the public can respond to it too.
And I think it's important to note too that there was some concern from some people that Chittenden County, as sort of the 800-pound gorilla, would sort of outweigh us all and get all the benefit out of this. That's not at all the way it works. We're on equal footing. So
Yep.
the Chittenden County Regional Development Corp is on equal footing with Central Vermont, equal footing with Addison. We all get the same weight. So that was encouraging, because it was a concern of some folks that the Chittenden County would be the big boy. and,
Overpower everything.
step
yeah.
on us all, right.
In fact, they listen very well.
It's going really great. The whole
It has
it's going-
been.
yeah,
Yep. It's been a really nice collaboration. And some of the other support organizations have brought reports in. So we've talked to the Vermont Professionals of Color Network and This Way Up, which is, people have probably seen it in Front Porch Forum. They're collecting data on women business owners in the state. So all these organizations have helped make sure that we're getting the very best regional data that we can to support the document.
And are other regions in the state doing a similar thing, of like Northeast Kingdom or
The
Southwest
Northeast Kingdom
Vermont,
has
or-
the oldest one, and Southern Vermont has the next oldest one. And the government actually came to the organizations in Central Vermont and in these regions and said, this is how we want you to split up the remainder of Vermont, because we want all of Vermont to be an EDD, the way that the Northeast Kingdom has been for so long. So they suggested that these 4 counties combine to make one document.
So now with this happening, will all of Vermont be eligible for these types of federal grants? So
If
it's
they
not-
all, if they all go through, there are 2 that are being worked on right now, ours and one in, I think, southwestern Vermont. There's a pretty new existing one for part of southern Vermont. Another part of southern Vermont is working on theirs. We're working on ours, and Northeast Kingdom is.
That's a pretty big project.
It's huge.
I can
It's a
imagine.
very long, complicated document.
So tell me about the staff at CVEDC. Is it, like, how extensive is it?
We're small. We are in the process of hiring another person right now, which will make us a 3-person team. But we're very well supported by our excellent board, who is made up of business leaders from the whole Central Vermont community. And I get a lot of great guidance and support from the board.
And where are your offices located?
We're in the National Life Building in Montpelier.
Nice view.
It is.
That's great. So, as a board member, where do you see? I would imagine you're looking at longer-term vision for the organization, and where do you see it going in the near and not so near future?
Well, I think the track we're on is the right track. I don't really see it pivoting to change the programs and the functions that we've been providing for so long, because it's going quite well, really. And particularly post-COVID, I think it has given the organization a lot more exposure. And I expect us to just get busier over time running the same programs. Probably, hopefully, with larger loan values and larger grant amounts available. But yeah, I don't really see much changing on that. It doesn't, Eric. It's going good.
So is the board more? Is it like a visionary kind of a board, or is it more hands-on?
More hands-on. We have monthly meetings. The executive committee meets a little more often. The board members range from small businesses to very big ones, a mixture of everything. I guess if I was going to be totally honest, we could use some more women and diversity on the board. Most of us, it's a bunch of middle-aged white guys, quite honestly, and we could use. We'd love to see some more folks express interest and want to come join the board. More is better in our minds.
No, that's good. That's good to know. And are there representatives from the Mad River Valley on the board, or are you our closest one?
I'm one that Candace from Sugarbush was on for a number of years. She got done at Sugarbush
Wait,
last year.
Anne-Marie Todd.
Anne-Marie
Oh, right.
Todd, yes,
Right.
Anne-Marie Todd
Yep.
is on
She's
now,
the Human
right.
Resources
Yep.
Director
Yep.
there.
Anne-Marie took over for Candace.
Yep.
Who else from the Valley? I'm trying to think.
That may be it for board members, but we do have a number of member businesses from the Valley. So Waitsfield, Champlain Valley Telecom, Choose Co., Kingsbury Construction. They are all member businesses.
So you can be a member I don't think of it as a membership organization. So what's the benefit of being a member?
Supporting the business community in Central Vermont. It's good for all of us, really.
Yeah.
And the membership, we're not talking break the bank dues here.
Oh, it's not like the damn Chamber of Commerce.
Right, it's not like them. That's right. Those guys, yeah, they'll get you.
They're the worst.
Very reasonable dues.
Yep.
It just gets more exposure, more for the business, for us. It's the more the merrier.
Is it typical? Are chambers of commerce ever members?
Well, the chamber is
the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce is a member in emeritus.
Yeah.
So, and as is the Central Vermont Regional Planning
Right.
Commission. So they both have.
sort of seats at the table.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that would be an interesting thing to be involved in, because I mean, from our perspective, I think historically the Mad River Valley Chamber has always been kind of a tourism-based, promoting the area, for tourism and getting people here, and restaurants and the hospitality industry and folks like that, and retail and all of that. And it's really morphed a lot, and we have our new members are from all different sectors, and this is something I just hadn't really thought about. We're like, membership organization. This
right?
could be good.
Well, I already count both you and Josh Schwartz at the Planning Commission as at least at the table because I love talking with you guys and learning from you. So
Yeah, the Mad River Planning District is an incredible entity, isn't it?
Really.
I should probably do something with them, right?
Right, sure.
He's so knowledgeable and has definitely, as this was a new industry for me, he explained a couple concepts to me that he was very helpful at breaking them down. So
yeah, that's interesting. Did you guys, I was curious about this. So we did we applied for this VORAC grant that our community was able to get. Did you guys have any input on that and how that was all put together?
Which grant program?
The VORAC, apparently not.
Not that one, no.
No, it's the Vermont Outdoor Recreation
Yep.
Economic Development.
Yep. That predated, I was just coming into but I was aware of it. And I know another, the Islands has a small RDC because they're a smaller area, and the Champlain Islands, and I think that they were the direct recipient of one. So I hear about them, but I wasn't directly involved in it. It's part of economic development, though. It's part of our economy. So,
and I think as we start talking about these different groups, and I start realizing, because I was talking earlier about how I sit on the steering committee for the planning district, and I have gotten to know Claire Rock from the regional planning, the Central Vermont Regional Planning District, who I didn't realize that was a sister organization of what you guys are doing, and how everyone is interrelated and how everyone really is working together in really positive ways. And I think that people don't always think that we're more dysfunctional than we actually are.
Right, we're not all out there going our own separate ways.
Right.
We're working together, coordinating efforts, trying not to duplicate efforts, because that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
And I think it's working pretty well in Central Vermont. In fact, we're at the state level. I think we're considered one of the best. Which is why Melissa and Jamie are running the northern half of the Technical Assistance Grant Program, because what they did during the first round of that was a phenomenal amount of work, and it was very clear that they could handle the bigger load. So.
And Claire contributes to my newsletter. I do a newsletter every month on funding opportunities, and we spotlight a Central Vermont business, and Claire writes something from the Planning Commission point of view as she has something to talk about. So I love having contributors like that come in and talk about what they're doing. You are welcome. Your newsletter is good. I think some of my information might have appeared in your newsletter.
Yes.
So I would welcome.
No one likes to cut and paste more than me, Melissa. I use every opportunity to sound wicked smart,
I welcome the same thing back.
No, but it really is. It is great to have collaboration between organizations like ours and what we're doing, and it's great because also to kind of reconnect with you in a very different way as opposed to just having you working on my septic system.
Right.
And not that there's anything wrong with that. We love that, but it does pay the bills, right?
Right. That's it.
Is there anything else I didn't touch on that you want people to be aware of about Central Vermont Economic Development Corp?
Well, I think I would just put out a call to the businesses that are listening to this to give a call and join if you're not a member. Like I say, the dues are very reasonable. The organization does a tremendous amount to support the business community, and we're all benefiting from it, whether we're members or not. So those of us who can afford a little membership, we should be on.
Man, I say that about the chamber all the time.
I'm sure you do.
Right?
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you wanted to bring up, Melissa?
No, it's been a very fun job for me. So any business owner that is seeing this that wants to talk about what CVEDC does, has trouble understanding the grants or funding opportunities from the government, or just wants to let me know about their business, I would love to talk with them.
No, that's great.
Any folks looking to move a business into the area,
Yep.
this is the organization to call.
Yep.
Melissa and Jamie can help find locations. They can help with various financing angles.
Yep.
So I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I've heard that housing's a problem.
We have that solved. It's
Yeah,
all.
right,
It's
Wow,
settled.
you guys are great.
Actually, that's one of the areas where we work with the Regional Planning Commission a lot, because we both have that significant concern.
Yeah.
We can't have economic development and growth if we don't have a place for workers to live. And that's a struggle everywhere, as we all know.
Yep, it is. Well, that's a topic for another day,
Yes,
right?
it is. Yes, it is.
But Gunnar, thanks so much
Thank you, Eric.
for joining me today. It was really nice having you. Thanks, Melissa. And I'm sure I'll start directing more folks your way.
Would love that.
And I'll
Thank
keep
you.
cutting and pasting your stuff. Well,
You're
thanks.
welcome to.
Well, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And come on down to the Mad River Valley Chamber Visitor Center on Bridge Street if you ever want to see what's going on in the Chamber of Commerce. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.